All right. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I
Cheers.
am beyond excited today. I am chatting with a legendary guitar player from the mighty Cirith Ungol, one of my favorite bands, Mr. Jim Barraza. Thank you so much for chatting with me. How you doing, sir?
Great. Thank you for having me here, Victor. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Looks like a nice sunny day there in California.
Yeah. Not too hot today, I don't think.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's scorching hot here in Utah. It's around 100 degrees, maybe more. I'm not sure. Yesterday, I think we hit 103 or something. It was awful. But at least it's dry, I guess. It's a dry heat. It's not like the
There you
South.
go.
So,
Yeah.
so how you doing? What's been going on with you lately?
Um, well, we've been getting ready. We're gonna play Wacken here
Oh,
on August 4th.
awesome.
And then we got the news it's the same day as Judas Priest and Merciful Fate. So we're excited about that. And we'll be on the same stage that Priest is playing on.
Nice.
Um, so it'll be in the whatever they call it, the holy grounds or whatever their main area. So that's taken up our time, and then we've written new songs for another album.
Excellent.
We're working those out and trying to pinpoint in the next month or so a studio date.
Awesome. That's really exciting news.
Yeah, we're
Very
happy
cool.
about it, and
Yeah.
the songs are sounding really good.
Nice. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, everything you guys put out is gold. So, in my opinion, I'm a massive fan. I've listened to Cirith Ungol for years and years and years. And yeah, in fact, I was gonna say the Forever Black, man, what a great album that is. And it just right in line with everything else. It's like you guys never stopped. It's just, you just kept going. It's great.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I was just talking with somebody the other day about how we're older now, but we have this uh, gift and drive and everything that we had when we were younger, and it's a very unique, and I'm very blessed to have that in my life, to be able to be back into music, and because without it, life is just it's just not the same.
Yeah.
This gives us something to wake up for, and do.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. So currently writing new songs, it sounds like. Do you guys have a kind of a target date of when you want to release a new album, or are you shooting for next year sometime?
Yeah, it'll be next year. Yeah, we're taking our time.
Nice.
um the most important was our commitments with our upcoming shows. We got Wacken, and then Psycho Las Vegas
Oh
in
yeah.
August, and then we're playing Providence, Rhode Island. So it's important for us to put on a good show, play well. Uh, at the same time, we're juggling the new stuff in between. But we're looking at maybe an October recording date is what we're trying to pinpoint.
Nice.
And
Very cool.
so based on that, it's going to be a later release next year, summertime maybe, or something like that.
Very cool. Do you have I don't know if you're at liberty to say this or not. Do you have a working title at this point for the album?
At this point, no. I'm sure Tim has an idea. Kind of up to him, based on whether it be one of the song titles or something totally different. I don't know yet.
Gotcha.
Obviously, would be Michael Whelan painting.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. If it was
Yeah,
gonna be a Michael Whelan painting, I assumed it would be since he's
has
done.
to be.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing too. The band that's had all albums done by the same artist. You can't just have one off where it's somebody
Yeah.
totally different, or so it's got to stay consistent.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would imagine it'll be Ulrich on the cover as well with the black
Yeah,
sword.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, which is trademark, piece of that history, of course, of Cirith Ungol is the tied in with Michael Morlock's Ulrich
Yeah.
Ehrlich character. It's but always in fact I think that was, it's hard to remember as it goes way back, but I think that was probably Frost and Fire I'm pretty sure, like, I don't even think I had heard the band. I think I saw the album cover and went, what is that? I need to hear this. And
Right.
then, I was blown away by the music. And, I'd never heard anything like that exactly before. And, especially with, Tim's unique vocal delivery and just
Yeah.
the cool timing, the guitars and the, I mean, just the signature sound of Cirith Ungol, with the, your interesting time signatures and tempo changes. I mean, just I've always been just transfixed by the band, and that's what I was so excited about with, with the last album with got a copy right here with Forever Black.
Right on.
Is I mean, you guys, it's that signature sound. But what I loved so much about it is it's not like a nostalgia thing. It's like, you guys, this is the real deal. This is the real Cirith Ungol. We're moving forward. This is the new album. It's not like, hey, we're going to try to sound like we did as kids. Like, this is who we are still, and this is what we sound like. And it's
it wasn't forced.
Yeah.
And anything that sounds from the past, nothing was intentionally brought in to tie it in. It just kind of happened. There's kind of references back to the first album, or might be kind of some Paradise Lost kind of feel to some stuff. That's just who we are, though. I mean, that's what comes out of us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't forced. That was the main thing.
Right.
It was just naturally flowing out of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it feels very organic. It's
and it's the same with this new material.
Cool.
After playing quite a few European shows and seeing other bands and hearing different music, and we're still that Cirith Ungol, organic core, but we've kind of evolved, and it's actually become it's more heavy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So we're kind of gonna live up to the doom side of the genre of heavy metal.
Cool. I love it. That's great.
And it's fitting with Tim's lyrics and vocals, and it couldn't be anything happy music based on his lyrics,
Right. Yeah, there's some dark stuff in there. That's for sure. Yeah, which is it's so good. It's so great. I was curious about the kind of the writing process, especially you guys are working on a new album. What is that writing process like? How does that, is it based on, Tim comes up with lyrics, or is it, you or Greg comes up with riffs, and then you guys, like, how do you guys kind of write? What's your process?
Yeah, well, basically, Tim has a notebook, and he's written many lyrics. Okay, so some may never get used, but my job as a guitarist is, Jimmy, come up with some riffs, something that's gonna rival Iron Man or Smoke on the Water or something. Give us something that's like, yeah, that's cool. Let's go on. Let's run with that. And at that point, that's when Rob and we have a fill-in bass player too when Jarvis is away. Tom, his name's Tom Malone. We'll work through accompanying parts and transitions, and Tim will be there with us in the room and kind of say, hey, well, why don't you try this or do this only 2 times, and then we'll change, because he's reading his lyrics and sort of molding the music to his lyrics. And then once we got it down, then he breaks out and starts singing, and then we go, wow, okay, so now we know what it sounds like.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know if that's how most people do it, but the music comes first.
Nice.
So and then the lyrics, like I said, Tim, he's got a lot of input and control how it's structured.
Okay. Interesting. So it sounds like it's very collaborative, but then there's Tim's got some direction on kind of what he's looking for to fit with the lyrical content. That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. And then it's just like anything, like if I'm to write something, somebody says, just give me a subject matter, write some music about this. Well, I'm not a lyricist. What I got to do is like find on the internet a painting or some sort of picture, and I look at that picture and I go, what would the soundtrack to that sound like?
Oh, cool.
You know, so I kind of put myself into visually, and so based on his song titles, you know, I have the lyrics and I'll have a song title. I kind of jump ahead too on that by giving it the atmosphere of what I think that it should sound like. And a lot of times it works out. We collide like that, you know. You know, I already know the lyrics. He's got the lyrics, and it just you know, it's kind of like cinematic, you know.
Right.
During this part of the movie, how should it sound?
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool process. I like that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Let's go back in time a little bit. So you joined Cirith Ungol in was 88 around
Yeah, I always said late 87, but yeah, call it 88.
Okay, yeah, because
88.
you were in the band Prophecy prior to that, right?
That's
And
correct.
then when Jerry left, you joined up. How did you try out? Did they know you? Kind of what was that? How did you get involved?
Yeah, so in the band Prophecy, we played a few gigs in Los Angeles, and Flint, the bass player of Cirith Ungol, was good friends with the bass player in Prophecy, Kurt Grothe. And so Flint would go down to LA with us, and that's how I got to know Flint. He just enjoyed being out, helping the band set up, you know, and having some brews, and we became friends. He saw me play, and at some point, I guess, talked with Rob and Jim when they were having a conversation about maybe getting a second guitar player to play with Jerry, you know, as a rhythm guitar player, and to back him up on some of the solos that required double lead guitar. So anyways, Kurt had died, the bass player of Prophecy, in an unfortunate accident, a car accident, and Flint played our what do you call it, tribute show, Final Prophecy show with us. And at that point, he looked at me and he says, "Well, looks like you're out of a band." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you gonna do?" And I go, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, Robin and Tim and I were talking about maybe, you know, trying out another guitar player with Jerry." So I agreed to it. Went down there one time, played with Jerry for maybe 3 hours with the band. Prior to that, Flint had given me One Foot in Hell, so I had to learn some songs off there. Went down there, nailed those songs, and they wanted to continue. And you know, they said, like, let's meet again, you know, in a couple more nights. And when I showed up, Jerry wasn't there. So whatever was going on with Jerry at the time, I don't quite know how, if he was kind of done with the band, or if he felt, you know, like they kind of intruded on his space by wanting to get another guitar player. I don't know what that was all about, but he never showed up again. And they called him and they said, "Hey, Jerry, you know, are you coming down?" And he wouldn't return calls. And finally, they told me, "Just keep coming back," and I did. And then finally one day I showed up and his Marshall stack was gone and all this stuff. And they kind of just looked at me and they said, "Well, I guess you're the new guitar player." Started learning all the songs, and they just gave me all the albums.
Wow.
And we started to put a set list together, and I think we played Guitarist in Hollywood was, I believe, the first show I played with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Legendary club, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And then old man Gazzari was there at the club too, so got to see him, little mafia looking guy.
Nice. And then had they already started writing Paradise Lost when you joined, or did?
Yeah. Okay. So once again, you know, Tim had lyrics. There was, okay, the songs that were already started, In fact, when I went in to play with Jerry, Rob goes, "Hey, play that new song," and he played the beginning of Chaos Rising.
Mm.
So Jerry had the chord structure down, and the whole song is just based on that chord structure. It's over, repetitive, but um, what I did was I took the song and broke it up with the lead solos, and then it's the break in the middle where it's the guitar just doing the kind of Metallica kind of thing, and the song speeds up from there. So Jerry started it, I finished it with them. The only other song, it was Before the Lash.
Okay.
Yeah, they had that pretty much complete.
Gotcha.
So once again, I just worked out structure with them and my lead solos and some breaks, changed a few things. The one song that I kind of brought in was Join the Legion. Of course, Tim already had lyrics, but the music, ideas and stuff I brought in, worked some of the changes out with Flint. Once again, it was all collaborative. It was Fallen Idols. We wrote together. Paradise Lost. We collaborated together. The Go It Alone thing, which a lot of people, either some people hate it or some people love it. It seems like girls like that song. It's a little more LA 80s glam radio rock kind of song, and it was a prophecy song, and I don't know how it ended up being chosen, but we needed one more song, and somebody said, let's bring that one in, and we did.
Interesting.
A lot of people say it was a mistake because it's kind of inconsistent with the vibe of the album.
That's still a cool song though. I think
still
it works.
A cool song.
Yeah, I think it works. So and yeah, so and unfortunately you guys weren't really getting the backing that you should have. You definitely deserved from the record company, and shortly after Paradise Lost, unfortunately you guys broke up. I guess out of frustration, is from what I've read in the past. Was there any, and I know with contracts it's hard to get out of that, was there any talk at that point of like, hey, let's try to get to a different, get on with a different label, or was everybody just kind of, we're done, we're frustrated, let's not do this right now?
Yeah, in my case, unfortunately, I remember going to Barnes and Noble's bookstore, mid 90s, and seeing I think they had like where you could look up your favorite artists and songs, and then actually have like cassette tape made. I don't know if you ever seen machines like that, where you punch in what you want and then a cassette tape would pop out, and you just you pay whatever, $1 a song, and pop a cassette tape in your car on the way home. And under the description, under Cirith, I found Cirith Ungol. I'm like, wow, Cirith Ungol, Paradise Lost, and it probably you can find it on the internet today. It kind of says like, in the wake of Barraza's departure, Cirith Ungol disbanded. So when I decided to call it quits, I walked away. Just goodbye, I'm done. And like again, you probably read, Tim and Rob hung in there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Tried out some other guitar players and stuff, but eventually it wasn't the same. The magic wasn't there anymore, with all these personnel changes and stuff. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
yeah, it was just seemed like it was such a weird, very abrupt, I'm sure there was a lot of things, and you don't have to go into it, but it was, and I had read that with the record company there were issues and frustrations, and
yeah, they were pretty much, they moved on very quickly to other bands and projects as the music was shifting to grunge and stuff. So it was obvious they didn't want to give Cirith Ungol the time of day. You
Yeah,
know,
just too
it
bad.
was a done deal and move on. You know, as far as the way I saw it.
Which is, yeah, very unfortunate. But fortunately, what it was not too long ago, I guess Metal Blade re-released Paradise Lost on
Yeah,
I got a copy right here of this with
yeah, that
the
was
bonus
cool.
tracks, and yeah, it's remastered. It sounds great, cool liner notes and everything. And that was, I believe, around the time when you guys all got back together and reformed Cirith Ungol. So I
That's
was really
right.
curious about how did that happen, and especially with like Greg coming back, like that was really interesting. The like how did this all come back into play?
Um, yeah, so it was, Jarvis has held Frost and Fire festivals in Ventura. I think 4 of them now, something like that.
Oh wow.
But it was Frost and Fire 1 is where he had a like a signing session set up for Cirith Ungol, and it was advertised, and so the people came from all over the world and had brought their albums. I'm finally going to get my Cirith Ungol album signed. Um, I showed up. Greg was there. Tim, Rob, Flint, and we all hadn't seen each other for like years. Like we're talking. Some of us hadn't seen each other for 10 years, some 20 years,
Wow.
or longer. And so that was interesting. But we were all surprised uh, at seeing all this merchandise and stuff coming across the table to sign, and just talking with people. That got our interest up about, wow, that people really do care about Cirith Ungol. Prior to that, we didn't know. We never talked to anybody really. Um, and so shortly after that, Jarvis suggested or invited um, myself, Rob, whoever to come down and try out their, instrument. He goes, I got a drum set, I got amps, guitars at the Night Demons rehearsal place. Uh, anyways, I agreed to it. And he goes, well, let's play a song like Join the Legion and I'm Alive or something like that. I said, okay. So I worked those up. I showed up, and when I walked in the room, Rob Garvin was on the drum set. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't expect Rob to be there. I'm not sure. I think maybe Jarvis kind of worked that out so we would all collide and give it a try. But we gave it a try. We had fun. It sounded good. I know Rob really enjoyed it, and we decided let's try it again. So we kept kind of building on it until finally Tim showed up, and it's like, hey Tim, you're gonna sing? He's like, no, I'm just here to listen. So he was there to listen. Like the very next time we brought in Greg, uh, Greg came up. Greg was playing bass, and we played a few songs, and it's like all of a sudden Tim stood up, grabbed the microphone, and started singing. And
Nice.
at that moment, we were Cirith Ungol again,
Cool.
and we all heard it, and we went, holy shit, I think this could work. I really think this could work. And so when we left, we all kind of just digested what we had just witnessed, and talked about whether we want to move forward and towards doing some shows. And at that time, Oliver, Keep It True, had offered, and also Manalis for the Up the Hammers Festival in Greece had an offer out for us to play. And we said, hey man, I've never been to Europe. They had never been to Europe. It wasn't just for money or to go to Europe. Number one was because we love playing. Number, the 2 and 3 is bonuses.
Yeah.
That you get to travel and you get to, see the world a little bit, and you get paid for it. So
Yeah.
that's great. At that point, man, we just hit it hard, And we ended up getting a studio. It was the old recording studio where all the albums had been recorded in Ventura here, Goldmine Studios. We rented that out, and that's when we worked up for about, I don't know, it was almost like 8 months or probably even a year towards that first show in Ventura. And that was, when was that date? October 8th, 2016.
Wow. Cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Did you, so yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, there was a, if you look at, from when Paradise Lost was released until you guys got back together, you're talking like 24 years almost.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Were you still playing during that time?
No, myself, right after I quit, my daughter was born. So she was 1 year old at our final show. And then about a year later at work, a coworker had some skydiving stickers on the back of his pickup truck. And at lunchtime, we talked about skydiving. I guess he'd had, 15 or 16 jumps. And he was ready, getting ready to get back into it again, hit it a little bit harder. And so I just, I said, man, I just seen Point Break, the movie. It looked really cool, the skydiving scene. Long story short, we ended up booking some tandem skydives in Paso Robles, California. 3 of us went, and the one thing after our jump, they said, there's good news and bad news about skydiving. What do you want first? And I said, well, give me the good news. And he says, the good news is you're gonna love it. And I said, okay. I said, what's the bad news? He goes, you're gonna love it. So he was right. The bad news was I loved it. And we went through the jump course and went on to be jumping by ourselves with our own parachutes. And eventually I bought a parachute. So for 20 years, I skydived. That was my replacement for going on stage.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of similarities, even to this day. Let's say when we take the stage at Vaca, just like doing a skydive, there's preparation. You want your gear to be perfect. Right now, my guitar I'm going to play at Vaca is at ESP Guitars, being worked on by the guitar tech that works on James Hetfield's guitars.
Oh, wow.
So it's taking it seriously enough that they're rewiring it, and they're I've played it and put some wear on it, but they're just dialing it in, make sure it's solid.
Cool.
Same with skydive gear. And then you're gonna jump, it's gonna be in an hour, time's ticking, it's okay, let's go, it's time to go. There's a lot of that timing. Next thing you know, you're on the plane, and once you take off, it's like walking towards the stage. We're getting ready to go on. And jumping out of the airplane, is similar to walking on stage. You're not getting off the stage. You just got on the stage, deal with it,
Right.
Run with it.
That kind of adrenaline rush, I'm sure.
It's an adrenaline rush, and many times it takes at least till the second song for that adrenaline to kind of subside enough to where you can, okay, now I can really get into my music.
Cool.
But at first it's just like intense,
yeah.
And then you're going from silence of it's like the wind of the free fall, that it's quiet in the airplane, but as soon as you exit the airplane, it's all
right,
like a hurricane. And same thing on stage. It's quiet before, and then once you start playing, it's like boom. That's where you're getting hit by the speakers, and now you can really hear the monitors, and step near the front of the stage and hear the main PA system. Catch a glimpse of yourself on the on the what do you call them, the screens on the side. go, wow, I'm on TV, and look
Yeah.
down, oh, there's a cameraman, you know.
Yeah, that's got to
It's
be
just a
kind of
lot to take. There's
surreal.
a lot to take in.
Yeah,
And
I
it's,
would imagine.
and that it's like a skydive, you know, just visually, just stuff going by you. Every time is clicking, and eventually it's over. And you want it to be a success, and you want to feel good about it, and high five each other. You know, whereas a skydiving, the landings can go wrong, or some
Right.
part of the skydive didn't go well, or we collided with each other, or you know, my foot got hung up in the door, or stuff like that. And with skydiving, we would debrief after the jump. You know, what just happened? What can we improve on? And we're doing that with the band. You
Oh,
know,
nice.
um, every show. You know, we're pretty critical of ourselves if we make some mistakes. You know, we kind of beat ourselves up a little bit, but we get over it quickly and move on and just learn from it.
Yeah, that's
So
good. Yeah, always good
that
to.
being said, so it's 20 years of skydiving, took the place of music. Now music's back, and that's taking the place of skydiving.
Nice. Was that tricky jumping back into playing again
Um,
for you?
no, okay. During the whole time, I had a guitar and didn't have a guitar. At some point, I bought a small Marshall amp combo, and I would play it for a year or two, and then I was out in the garage, and I became a contractor, and I didn't have time for that. You know, I had a business for 11 years doing concrete contracting.
Oh, okay.
And so there was always a guitar around, or a friend that had one, and I could pick it up and just rip. And they would always go, wow, you're a really good guitar player. And it's kind of in the back of my head. I was like, cool. Yeah, I am. I am a pretty good guitar player.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always knew I had retained the talent. I just wasn't doing it very much,
Gotcha.
and right before the reunion, uh, I didn't have a guitar. This is another side story, but um, I'll just blurt it out here. So I was in a drug and alcohol rehab facility
Hmm.
at the time. So I didn't have hardly any money, and I had 14 bucks, I believe. I ended up buying a little kid's Act One electric guitar,
Hmm.
and then I had hawked a small microcube, and it was about ready to just go away. It was like a year, been in there a year or so, and I was able to scrape up enough money to get that. So now I had a microcube and a little kid's electric guitar, and in the facility in my bunk, I would play that. So at the time when the question was, hey Jimmy, can you still play guitar? Yeah, I can still play guitar. And I was going, oh shit, I don't even have a real guitar.
Right.
And I scrambled up with $200, went to an old friend's music shop. He had an LTD Viper. He ended up selling me, it was brand new, for $200. And in fact, that's the one behind me right there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that started the whole thing.
Nice.
And so long story short, that guitar, and then Rob went to a pawn shop with me, and Rob was kind enough to spend 200 bucks on another guitar I liked, so at least I had a couple guitars.
Cool.
So there you go. Then I was set up, and we were off and rolling.
Nice. That's great. That's a cool story. So speaking of guitar playing, let's go way back in time. And I was curious, how did you get started in music originally? Did you come from a musical family? Like, when did you start playing guitar?
Yeah. So, okay. When I was 8 to 10 years old, I lived in Alaska, up in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so my mom and I moved up there. She had a friend who was a helicopter pilot. So I got quite a few helicopter rides in Alaska, but he was the guitar player, and he played like Suicide is Painless, and he'd play some Peter, Paul and Mary stuff, you know, on the guitar, and some John Denver. And he was kind of like campfire guitar guy.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, I witnessed that. At the same time, Kiss Alive 2, my mom bought me a phonograph. She gave me Kiss Alive 2, like Led Zeppelin 3, Heart, was it Barracuda? I'm not sure if it was titled that, but had Barracuda on there. And with those albums and a phonograph, I was just glued to it. I was like, Led Zeppelin, you know, Kiss, cool. And then open up Kiss Alive 2, and you just see the flames and the guitars. And that sparked my interest. So when we left Alaska, he knew, you know, I was into music. He goes, Jim, I want to give you this guitar. So he gave me his acoustic guitar. And we went back to Missouri, had the acoustic guitar in the closet. And at some point I was in junior high school, and my grandmother was saying, Jim, why don't you do something like get on a football team or play baseball or something like that? But I said, Grandma, I'm not interested. I played hockey in Alaska. Unfortunately, playing hockey in Missouri, the ice rink and situation was a little bit farther away and would cost a little bit more than she could afford. So she goes, what about the guitar in the closet? Would you like to learn how to play that? And I was like, yeah, you know, I was open to the idea, because I was at that point, I think I had a few more albums, you know, and I had maybe heard Iron Man on the radio, and you know, I was taking notice of the electric guitar sounds. And so she took me to a YMCA group guitar lesson, and it was like 12 guitarists and one teacher, and everybody was just trying to tune up. And the whole time, all we did is try to tune, and everybody was out of tune.
Right.
So I walked out to the car, and she goes, how was it? And I shook my head like, it was pathetic. All we did, everybody was just twang, twang, twang. And so she goes, well, let me check in the music store. I'll get you private lessons. So I went, she hooked me up with private lessons, started going, got, you know, 10 pages into the first lesson book. And at that point, a friend at school in algebra class or geometry class, whatever, he was a guitar player too. So we talked guitar all the time. And he was like, he knew how to do tablature a little bit. And so he showed me some stuff on tablature. And he even tabbed out like how to do eruption, you know, because he had an older brother that lived in Texas, and he was sending him stuff like this. You know, he was all into Randy Rhoads and Pantera, and so he was getting that information, and I was getting it. So coinciding with my lessons, I started to go into my lessons and say, you know, check this out or something, what I learned. And my guitar teacher was like, oh, wow. And he's like, you know, well, let's get back to the book, you know. And then we kind of started deviating from the book and not dealing with the book anymore, because he saw that I wanted to progress. And so he's like, well, here, I'll show you a song I know. And, you know, he would tab it out. So it ended up being 6 months kind of structured. And then the last 6 months, we were just having fun. I was kind of bringing in new stuff, and he was going, wow. And he was kind of showing me what he knew. And after a year, he comes out and he told my grandmother, he goes, you know, I really can't teach him anymore. You know, I showed him bar chords and open chords, and, you know, I gave him some scales to work on. It seems like he just needs to just go for it. You know, he was realizing that I could play by ear. You know, I was picking up stuff off the radio, because I would come in and he'd go, where'd you learn that? And I said, I heard it on the radio, you know, and I just kind of just like a parrot, just mimicked it. So anyways, he goes, I got to cut him loose. I don't want to waste any more of your money. And at that point, I wouldn't say I got a big head, but I had confidence. I was like, wow, my teacher just cut me loose and said, go for it. Kid across the street, was in marching band. He wanted to get a drum set. His parents bought him a drum set. Perfect situation.
Yes.
My grandmother says, "Well, you want to play? You need an amplifier." So we started jamming together. So this is after a year and a half of just starting to play guitar. Now I got distortion, electric guitar, and a drum kit. And we started playing Black Sabbath, and that's where, like, for Christmas, we sold our souls for rock and roll.
Yes.
My mom started, shooting me some more stuff like Deep Purple. My mom was an old hippie, so she liked Cream and Hendrix and stuff like that. I got a Hendrix album. So for birthdays and Christmas, she knew, give Jim vinyl. It's hard rock vinyl.
Very cool.
And that just transferred over to what me and him had going on, and we kind of built up a little set list, and we never played out. So anyways, that's the early part of it, to answer your question.
Nice. Very cool. How'd you end up in California and
okay, so
Prophecy?
At that point, I was in 10th grade to 11th grade, and in 11th or later 10th grade to 12th grade, right before I graduated high school, I played with some guys that were really good. And we did parties, backyard parties of the albums I started getting were, Blizzard of Oz, and I saw Randy Rhoads at that time, twice on the Diary of a Madman tour, and I got to see I'm trying to think, like Dawkins, I was honed into George Lynch, and I'd seen Metallica, and Wasp was coming out. So I learned how to play these songs, and in this band with this group of guys, we did that stuff. We'd play like Unchained, and we'd play Rat, Round and Round, and we started doing the hip metal songs of that time, and it went over great at parties, man. People loved us. At that point, I took off to San Francisco just for a week vacation, and my cousin who lived there, friends with Carlos Santana, Grace Slick, everybody there. She worked at a studio where they recorded as a receptionist. So while I was there, she took me to a Carlos Santana concert. We went backstage, just me and her, sat in the dressing room with Carlos.
Wow.
At the same time, she took me to San Francisco studios, and I spent the day with Grace Slick and did, I'm in that video. We built this city on rock and roll.
You are? Oh, wow.
And when I'm 18.
Nice.
So I was still in high school. Here I am, 18, a quick vacation. I come back to Missouri. I tell my high school friends, hey, I'm going to be on MTV video in about 30 days. They're like, you liar. I go, no, I'm serious. I go, I asked the camera guy, I go, when's it going to be out? They go, about a month. And sure enough, I hadn't seen the video, but one day a friend of mine walks up. He goes, Jim, I saw you on MTV. I go, really? And I go, yeah.
Nice.
So they would sit there and with the VCR and watch MTV all day, on weekends or whatever. And as soon as your favorite videos come on, I don't know if you did this, hit record.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Remember recording MTV stuff?
Yep.
And he recorded it, and he goes, I got it on VHS. So I came over to his house, and it was the first time I saw it. He played the tape for me.
Nice.
So at that point, I was realizing, I don't think Kansas City, Missouri is the place to be. I need, it's all these bands are from LA, from California. So I had the opportunity, my family's from Ojai, California, to land in Ojai, California. So just prior to joining, once I moved out here, living in Ojai, California, prior to joining Prophecy, it was very interesting. My cousins on weekends, they were like, let's go to this one bar. They got a really great band, and they play every weekend, and they play hard, they play rock tunes, and I went there, and well, I was talking with this girl and watching this band, and they were really good. And she mentions, she goes, Jeff Scott Soto, and I went, I said, that's Jeff. I go, oh, I took notice of the singer, and it was Jeff Scott Soto. I go, yeah, I just seen them with Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, a year ago in Kansas City. So anyways, met Jeff Scott Soto there, and Brian Young was playing guitar with him at the time. So Brian went on to play with David Lee Roth at one point, as you know, Jeff's career. You know, he did a Journey thing. He's done, had his own solo career, and then playing with, oh, who are they? I can't even think of all the bands he's played with.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of, House of Cards or House of Lords, right? Was he in House of Lords? Maybe not.
I know recently he plays with Billy Sheehan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so at that point too, musically, you know, I just watching Brian play, and he had a scalloped neck, you know, Fender Strat, and they let me play with him. He says, you want to get up and play? So I played Round and Round with Jeff Scott Soto. Wow. And I just remembered looking over to my right, looking at Jeff Scott Soto singing, and going, how fucking cool is this?
Yeah.
You know, I'm playing a Round and Round with Jeff Scott Soto, and I just seen him with Yngwie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So once again, that was just another kind of inspiring moment, and it kind of excelled my playing. At that point, I got more into soloing, and I definitely started studying that Yngwie Malmsteen stuff a little more. Never got really proficient at it, but to this day, I still kind of steal a little bit of that, you know, that style.
Very cool. That's very cool. Well, Jim, this has been a pleasure and an honor chatting with you. You know, so for the folks that are out there, if you have the chance, I wish I could, I would love to see Cirith Ungol at Wacken. I'm jealous of anybody that's going to be there at that show. That's going to be incredible. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, like you said, you know, you and Judas Priest, you guys and Judas Priest and Merciful Fate on one stage.
And Udo Dirk Schneider, man.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a killer. That's gonna be amazing. Yeah, that's one of my dreams. Eventually get to Wacken someday. But yeah, to see those particular bands, whew, man.
We'll be at Psycho Vegas.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure what that date is. Mid-August in Las Vegas, and Merciful Fate's playing that day too. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Do you have any? We're paired up with. We're in good company.
So. Yeah, definitely. Do you have any other touring plans? Any plans about touring the States at this point?
No, just that one in Providence, Rhode Island, just prior to playing Vegas the night before or something like that. And then we go to Mexico in September. At that point, then it'll be, like I said, the October, hopefully recording sessions will start.
Excellent.
For the new stuff.
That's very exciting news. Very exciting news.
Yeah, but Victor, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. This was a pleasure. This was great. Yeah, and yeah, for everybody watching, please look in the description below. There's links to Cirith Ungol's Facebook page as well as their Bandcamp page. If you have never heard them before, do yourself a huge favor and check out this band. One of my all-time favorites. I cannot get enough of Cirith Ungol. One of the most unique metal bands, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most important metal bands to come out of California, especially in that era. So yeah, thank you again, Jim. Have a great day.
All right, man. Yeah, have a great one. Thank you.